do when you're stuck in a place you don't want to be and there's no way out anytime soon? Like, how can you be faithful to God when you feel stuck? I'm glad you asked. Welcome to the Sift. My name is Nathan Eldridge. I'm here with my good friend and co-host Jeff Holzclaw. We're just two Christian guys having honest conversations about real life and the challenges that we face. Man, we love Jesus, and we're here just to be an encouragement and a support to you. If this video proves to be helpful to you, we hope that you'll like the video, share it, subscribe it. If there's thoughts that you have, if we say something or we don't say something and you have some great insight or idea, share it in the comments below. We'd love for you to be part of the conversation here at the Sift. There's always a table, a seat at the table for you here. So, man, good morning.
Good morning. Episode 10. It's a great morning so far. Still in Genesis, studying about the life of Joseph. We left off chapter 39.
Yeah.
He had just got falsely accused by Potiphar's wife.
That was a raw deal.
It was a raw deal.
Yeah.
And we closed last session of him being carted off to jail. And that's where our brother Joseph is at right now, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's just I can't imagine. He's here. We're going to see that he's there for years. In this passage, we're gonna pick that up at the end of the passage. But I'm just telling you, man, to be stuck in jail for years, that's a tough place to be.
I was trying to find out how long since he was thrown in the pit by his brothers at the age of 17 until he gets out in the next chapter to come. Not this week, but the next one. When does he get out and start being supporting the king of Egypt? I've heard that it's like 17 to 20 years that he's been in this pinch.
Yeah.
That's incredible considering everything that has happened to him and his positive attitude through that long duration of suffering.
Yeah, and I think that duration, I need to go chew on that.
Yeah.
Because it might be that 17 to 20 years between the reuniting, between like the pit and then the time that his brothers come back in front of him. But man, we should ask a preacher about that. We should check in with your pastor on that.
Well, I think you may know, and you just didn't want to throw me under the bus on that.
No, I don't.
So,
Well, here's part of what we love to do. We want to read the scripture, so you'll bear with us. We're going to read these. We believe these are really the words of God, and so when we read the Bible, it's because we're confident that we need to hear this.
And we're just babbling around it.
Yeah. So I'm going to read Genesis chapter 40, the first couple of verses, and then we'll just dig in and see what we find. But it says, sometime after this, after Joseph was thrown into prison and God was showing him favor in prison, sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with these two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them, and they continued for some time in custody.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's in prison. But I'm telling you, wherever Joseph found himself, he was elevated. Like every time he got into some kind of difficult situation, he finds himself sold into slavery in Potiphar's house, becomes the head of everything, gets put into jail, earns into prison, and he earns the trust of the guy over the prison, and he becomes the chief of the prison. I mean, he's just everywhere he goes, he's elevated.
I was wondering who this captain of the guard was.
Man, you're reading my mail. I was wondering too.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Potiphar.
That's what I was wondering.
I don't, because they call Potiphar the captain of the guard earlier,
Same
right?
language, yeah.
So I don't know if it's the same guy, but that at least Potiphar knew this guy, you would think, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like when just Joseph's good work, his joyful spirit, his not complaining, all the hard work he did for Potiphar when he was a slave for Potiphar, immediately paid forward into this new position, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I know.
But I tell you, the idea that it could be Potiphar is really interesting to me. And not that there's some strong case I'm trying to make, but it would make sense.
Yes.
For Joseph to be elevated if it was Potiphar, because it's like, I know this didn't happen. Like, I'm not real confident in this accusation anyway, and I know your character, so, just go take care of things over there. Well, the big story here, I say the big story, kind of big picture that we're looking at today is Joseph is stuck. He's in prison. He's not getting out anytime soon, and I'm gonna tell you, there's all kinds of books that I've seen at Barnes& and Noble, on Amazon about what do you do when you're how to get unstuck, right? And Joseph, none of those books would have done Joseph any good to get unstuck, because Joseph is stuck, he can't get out. But what do you do? Like, what does it look like to be faithful? What does it look like to be faithful to the Lord, and what does it look like to walk with God when you're stuck in a season that's really difficult? And here is Joseph doing that here. What are some insights? What are some things you might draw out of these first few verses?
I keep, and this is the reason I like the Joseph story so much. I keep coming back to his absolutely 100% positive attitude, no matter where he's at, no matter where God has planted him. He's going to serve the Lord with a joyful heart.
Yeah.
And he does it with a gentle spirit too. It said that he was putting, he was used to being in charge at Potiphar's house. Now he's been put in charge of this prison system or the jail, and these two men, the butcher and the baker and the candlestick. No, that's not right.
Close.
They're close. The two guys were put in there, and Joseph was put in charge of them. It said, what did he do when he was in charge of them? It said he attended to them. He served them.
Wow.
Joseph was this. Joseph not only didn't throw himself a pity party, but he was a servant, even though he was in charge. He was a servant-based leader.
Man, that's great.
That is good. It just shows the purity of his heart.
Yeah.
He really didn't care what was happening to him. He cared about others.
Something that's great. That's great. Just the posture that he takes, even though he's the head guy. And
it's remarkable.
This is definitely a life lesson for those who have some kind of position of authority, is to serve the people under their care. And one of the things that we see just a few verses later, as these guys begin having these crazy dreams and they go to Joseph, or Joseph actually comes to them and interprets their dreams, he notices that they don't look good.
I know.
He walks in and he's like, hey guys, what's going on?
Yeah.
You look downcast.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I just don't see prison as a place where people have these kind of warm, fuzzy feelings and are caring about how people feel.
Yeah.
And yet here's Joseph, as you said, serving or attending to these guys, but also caring about it, noticing, picking up on those cues that these guys are not doing well. So I tell you one thing that suffering has a tendency to do. Suffering has a tendency to turn us inward. It has a tendency to make us very inwardly focused. And so when you get stuck in a season, if you're in a job that's really difficult right now, or a difficult season at work, or difficult season at your home, or wherever that might be, it is easy for us to just turn inward and to begin really thinking of ourselves, kind of being overwhelmed by the situation and losing sight of the people around us.
Oh, yeah.
But here's Joseph in prison, attending to these kind of high profile, if you will, prisoners, and taking notice of how they're doing.
Yeah.
He's not just focused on himself, and that's a great quality to have. So one of the ways I guess it looks faithful when you're stuck in a hard spot is just to continue to care for others.
Yeah.
When you're there.
That is a very good rule, right?
Yeah.
And we'll read that in these next verses, but you hit smack on it, right? If you start ruminating about your suffering, guess what? It is going to be bigger than it is.
Yeah.
But you start applying your spare time in the service of others, like our man was doing, dude, it makes life a little easier.
Yeah. That's interesting. There was a lady named Elizabeth Elliot. Her husband was Jim Elliot. He was a missionary down to the Auca Indians and was killed by the Indians that they had gone down there to serve. He was a missionary pilot. Anyway, she wrote a little booklet on how to grieve the loss of a loved one because she lost her husband. And one of the last things in that booklet was about how a significant thing that she did to work through her grief and pain, again, just a time of suffering for her, was to serve other people.
Yeah.
one of the ways that she worked through her grief was to serve others, to find out what it is that God would have her do in that season.
I
And
think
so,
that's incredibly wise counsel.
yeah. And so wherever you might be, if you're stuck in that season of hardship or suffering, what can you do now to serve other people?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few things I can think of that are more Christ-like than that. The very one who says in Mark 10:45, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many.
Yeah.
And so, boy, when we find ourselves like Joseph and we are serving other people when we're in a pinch, it's very much Christ-like character on display in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to keep reading?
Yeah.
Keep plowing? Let's get plowing a little bit. It says, one night they both dreamed. And when it says they both, we haven't really said anything about this guy who's a cupbearer and the guy who's the baker. Apparently, the cupbearer was kind of like a big deal.
Yeah.
They were right there, a confidant of the Pharaoh, really in close proximity to him. Really, the Pharaoh entrusted his life to this guy who was making
Always
sure.
dream, yeah.
Yeah. So, for whatever reason, they had offended the Pharaoh. I don't know if the Pharaoh thought there was some shenanigans and his life was in danger. He puts these two guys into prison.
Yeah.
And God's providence, they end up in the same prison that Joseph's in. So one night, both of these guys, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, they each his own dream. They both dreamed their own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. So when Joseph came to them in the next morning, he saw they were troubled. There we go. He's picking up on that.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. So Joseph asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody in his master's house. You know what? That's interesting. In his master's house. I wonder if that's the clue.
I don't
Did
know.
you? Yeah, to Potiphar. Anyway,
I know.
maybe-
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Sidetrack. Rat squirrel.
Yeah.
Why are your faces? He asked them, why are your faces downcast today? And they said to him, we've had dreams, and there's no one to interpret them. And Joseph said to them, well, don't interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me. And so the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph, and he said to him, okay, now this is kind of a wild dream. He says this. He says, okay, in my dream, there was a vine before me, and on this vine there were 3 branches. And as soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and I pressed them into Pharaoh's cup and placed the cup into Pharaoh's hand. All right, so he has this wild dream. A vine shoots up, produces grapes, and he presses the grapes and puts them back into the Pharaoh's cup.
Yeah.
I can kind of see where this is going, as I hear Joseph's interpretation. So here's what Joseph says. It says, verse 12, Joseph says to the cupbearer, he says, okay, so this is what it means. This is the interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand as formerly when you were his cupbearer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Joseph was so confident that this was going to happen. He says this. He says in the next verse, he says, okay, so when it happens, remember me when it goes well with you, and please do me the kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, and so get me out of this house. All right, so Joseph was absolutely confident. This is what that means.
I know.
I mean, he knew.
I know.
Yeah.
So even before that, right? It said when they were talking about dreams, and he says, "Hey, interpretations belong to God.
Yeah.
Tell them to me." How bold is that in your faith that one, you're gonna talk about the things of God to an unbeliever, and two, you're so bold that God is with you so tightly that you have no doubt you're gonna know what God means by this dream.
Mm-hmm.
Remarkable.
Yeah, it is. And when you kind of open the aperture and you spread back a little bit and look at the whole life of Joseph, Joseph's own dreams have not yet come true.
No.
So he's a dreamer kind of guy.
And they put him in a bad place.
Right. And and all of that to say, even when back to that kind of big idea of how do we remain faithful when we're stuck. What we don't see is that Joseph does not think that God is against him. Joseph does not give up. He doesn't abandon his faith. He doesn't, at least there's no appearance that he gets angry with God. Joseph simply says, interpretations belong to God. And he'll tell them to me, basically. So what's your dream?
Yeah.
But there's no bitterness. There's no frustration. You just don't see that in Joseph, which is, again, we're not trying to make Joseph into some saint Joseph is this perfect guy, but there's a quality here that's just something we want to emulate. That when you go through suffering, rather than thinking everything is against you, which it's easy to do when you're in those hard times, God hadn't forgotten him.
No.
And he didn't think God had forgotten him. Even though we're going to see at the end of this passage, Joseph was forgotten by the guys.
That's right.
So
it's compelling to see how specific he was with interpretation of that dream. He really puts it on the timeline. 3 days.
Yeah.
3 days. So it's like, hey man, you got 72 hours and you want to find out this is true.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if he was wrong? Hey man, it's so bold that he says, hey, 72 hours, and you're about to get into it. That dream was telling the cupbearer good news.
Oh, it was absolutely good news. For the cupbearer, it's like, oh, phew, I'm going to get my job back.
72 hours, I'm back.
This is just a short time in the slammer here, and I'm back on my feet again.
Slammer.
And so, but this idea that the dream itself, when I started reading these dreams and just looking at these dreams, I can see when Joseph interprets it, it's like I can see it. That makes sense. Because the dream is about the guy pressing grapes, putting them back into the cup, and giving the cup to Pharaoh. It's like he's returning to his former position. It looks like that. So I can see it. But let's look at the next one, because I think something else we have to do when we're in those tough spots is we can deliver good news to other people. Good news for them, even when it's not good news for us. But Joseph's about to have some bad news to deliver too in this other dream. So it says, I guess it was... I didn't quite finish verse 15. Verse 15, Joseph was wrapping up with the cupbearer, and he says, "For I was indeed stolen out of my land," kidnapped, basically, out of the land of the Hebrews, "and here also I've done nothing that I should be put into this pit." And so Joseph is asking the cupbearer, "Hey, man, please, when you get back to Pharaoh, put in a good word for me so I can get out of here." Verse 16 is when he picks up with the baker. And it says, "When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was favorable." Ooh, man, I need some good news, Joseph. I'm anxious.
3 days, maybe 4.
Yeah, so he says to Joseph, "Why, I had a dream, and there were 3 cake baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket, there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating it out of the basket on my head." That's not good. I mean, what kind of that doesn't sound like somebody doing their job real well if the animals are getting all the food exposed. Anyway, so Joseph answered and he said this, I got some bad news for you. This is my interpretation. He says, "Those 3 baskets on your are 3 days. And in 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and will hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat the flesh from you." And I'm just like, oh my goodness, that is bad news. But I think there are times where, and I don't want to read too much into this, but I'll tell you, there are times where it is appropriate and it's right to deliver bad news to people.
I'm not good at that.
My brother, one of my brothers, is a doctor, and I know there have got to be some really hard conversations where he goes in and it's like, we've got to walk through this diagnosis, and it's like, oh man, how do you give bad news in a good way? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah,
I'm waiting. Yeah, you got to tell me.
Yeah, so I don't know, and I wanted to take input from Joseph, but look at how Joseph laid this out. It was like, so you're the baker, and think, I just told you, hey, and I just told the cupbearer in 3 days, your head's going to be lifted, you're going to be restored. Look at how this starts. In 3 days.
That's right.
It's in 3 days, your head will be lifted up.
Oh, same language. Yes.
It'll be taken off your body.
What?
I know. I was like, it's always in it. Oh, what?
Yeah.
So I don't want to read too much into that on how we might present bad news.
Oh, man.
But I think the point here is that you got to deliver it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the Lord told him to deliver it that way, well, that's the way it should be delivered.
I'm going to tell you, there are times, and there are times where it is just so hard when you have to, and it's not like you're appointed as a prophet in somebody's life,
No.
but there are times where somebody has to love another person enough to say the hard things, where it's like, this is not okay. And sometimes saying the hard thing to the person, the thing that you don't want to say, the thing they're not going to want to hear, that's a spouse saying something to another spouse that they don't want to hear. Just being honest with them, not being cruel, not trying to attack, but just saying something that's honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a parent saying something to a child that the child doesn't want to hear, but you have to say it. If you love them, you will tell them the truth. I love the story of the rich young ruler in the New Testament, where he comes up to Jesus and he says to Jesus, "What must I do to inherit the kingdom of heaven?" And Jesus tells him these commands. He's like, "I've done all that since my youth." And he says, "Great. Well, I want you to go and sell all your possessions and give to the poor and come follow me."
Ooh.
I was like, "Oh, okay." But it says in that passage that Jesus looked at him
Yeah.
and he loved him. And then he said, "Go sell everything and come follow me." He put his finger right on that hard spot in the guy's heart. And sometimes that's what it's like, loving somebody enough to tell them the truth when it's going to be unpleasant.
Oh, that's good.
So anyway, and I know I need somebody to love me enough to do that, because I have no this kind of false idea that I don't have the need for that in my own life, as if like I'm the one that God has appointed to do this in everybody else's life, but it never is there for me. I need people to do this for me. That's why Jeff's in my life, is so that he can do that for me. But we all need that.
Yep.
So we've got the dreams interpreted. Everything's moving along, and then it says this, verse 20. On the third day, right? So 3 days have passed. It's time for their dreams to come true, right?
You've been waiting on that, haven't you?
So it's Pharaoh's birthday. He's going to have a big party. So third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker among his servants. In verse 21, it says, he restored the chief cupbearer to his position and placed the cup, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand, just like Joseph said. This is exactly what Joseph said would happen, the interpretation that God revealed. And then verse 22, it says, but Pharaoh hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. And so this is exactly what he said would happen. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things that that is special about the Bible is that everything that the Bible says will happen, you can take it to the bank.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And so here, when God reveals this interpretation to Joseph, and Joseph shares it with these guys, what he said is exactly what happened. And so you can bank on God's word. You can have confidence on God's word. Jesus, at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, he says, if you hear my words and you do them, you'll be like a man who built his house on a rock. There's a firm footing. And so right now, if you feel like your life is all topsy-turvy and there's no stability, I would just ask you, like, what are you anchoring your life in?
Right.
And if you're not anchoring your life, if you're not anchoring your thinking, your desires, your relationships in the Word of God, you may feel like things are just haywire and out of control. But this is the anchor. You know, God's Word is the foundation upon which we can build a life with confidence and hope and joy. And God's Word is a firm foundation. I love that hymn,
that's
"A Firm Foundation." You want to sing it for us?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, me either. So we will spare anybody who's listening to this. We're not going to sing. So what do we make of this? Everything comes true. And then the very last thing, this is really where I've been wanting to get, is verse 23. Man, yet, so everything happens. What Joseph told this guy comes true. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him.
God.
Man, forgotten. I'm telling you. It's like, I just asked you to do one thing, and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. And then if you look one verse later at the beginning of chapter 41, it says, After 2 whole years,
Yeah.
Pharaoh has a dream, and that's the story picks up. So for 2 years, Joseph is literally
In jail.
forgotten.
I know. I know.
I mean,
I know.
my goodness.
I jotted some notes of the sort of the pinches Joseph has been in so far. I just keep coming back to his stellar attitude.
Mhm.
Hated by his brothers, thrown in a pit, planned to be murdered, sold into slavery, was a slave,
Wow.
falsely accused, thrown into jail, and forgotten about. All of that has transpired in this young
Man.
man's life. And not once did we see him veer off of his faith from God. Not once did we see him get into a pity party. I had a buddy one time. I still know him. I worked with him. He's retired, but he was a pretty good drinker. Drinker, alcoholic type. It nearly destroyed his whole life.
Wow.
He went into recovery, and as he was working through the AA, and he's been sober ever since, thank God, that he talked a lot about this victim mentality. That, things that could happen to a person as a child, or things that happen in your marriage, or things that happen at work, that somebody did this to me, somebody did that to me, somebody did this. And you get this victim mentality where you're always, woe is me, life has not been fair to me, I'm gonna drink or drug my problems away, or whatever your addiction might be. It, it's problematic. Because, and I'm not saying that people aren't victims, because absolutely bad, as we can see, bad things happen to people. Bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
But to live in that victim mentality, he would always say, man, if you have a victim mentality, you will never get sober, because it's never your fault. It's somebody else's problem that you're where you're at.
Wow. Yeah.
And it always stuck with me to never, no matter what your lot in life is, man, at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Man, there's a book. That's great. I really appreciate you sharing that. There was a book I read several years ago by a guy named John Townsend, and it's called Not My Fault. And it's all about people not wanting to take responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what you're saying here, and just the fact that we are responsible. And I would just let's do a little thought exercise. Like, so if you're listening to this, if you're still here on minute whatever it is, I want you to just think for a minute about your own mindset. Like, if you find yourself at home and you think about the relationships with your spouse, your kids, whatever, your parents, and you think, woe is me. If you're tempted to think they're always against me, they're always trying to do this, they should treat me, this is wrong, they're always treating me wrong, and then you go to the gas station and somebody treats you wrong at the gas station, and then you find yourself at the store, the grocery store. Well, somebody took my parking spot, and then you go to work and the boss doesn't treat me well. I'm not talking about your friend, right? I'm talking about you. Like, if that's you, you're like the character in Charlie Brown, Pigpen, that's got this little dust cloud over them everywhere they go. And as much as we're not saying bad things don't happen, or people don't take your parking spot, or disrespect you at the store, but if that is following you, the problem is not everybody else. The It's everywhere you go, you are there.
Yeah.
You show up. And that same mentality, that same victim mentality, is carried along with you everywhere you go, and other people see it around you. And it's difficult, right? It's difficult when you live with somebody who is perpetually a victim. It's a difficult thing. You love them, but I don't know. What are some thoughts on how do you break out of that mindset? If you're stuck in that mindset, how you break out of that?
I don't know. I, uh, the easy answer is, man, the obvious. Take responsibility for your life. But
Yeah.
how do you convince an adult to change their heart?
Oh,
One way,
yeah.
the good Lord.
It really is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the answer. And so if you're a believer and you feel like you've been victimized, and you may have been, terrible things may have happened to you in life, and you cannot let that define you. The
Yeah.
Lord is good in all circumstances. He's going to work all things for his glory, right?
Absolutely.
So take that to heart.
Mm.
Take that to
Man,
heart.
that's really good. As you were saying that, a couple things came to mind. One, if you're stuck in that mindset, let me just tell you, there have been times in my life where I have been in that frame of mind, where I've just been stuck thinking everything is against me. I mean, we see the prophet Elijah in the Bible. He got into that kind of funk where he's like, I'm the only one left, Lord. Everybody else has turned away from you, and I'm the only one left." And so he felt kind of a pity party for himself. Um, but let me just say a few things to keep in mind. One, the people around you are not ultimately in control of your life.
That's right. Oh,
Even though Joseph was in prison, those people, his life was in the Lord's hands, and the same is true for you and me. Ultimately, the people around you, your boss, your family, your friends, the people at your church, whatever, they're not the ones who are ultimately in control of your life. It's the Lord. Something else I would really challenge you to do if you're stuck in that place where you're having a hard time seeing past the offenses of other people is just to make it a practice, a conscious practice of gratitude. To say, Lord, because you've probably lost sight of all the good that's in your life. You've
that's right.
lost sight of the things that God has put right in front of you, the air you're breathing, the position you have at work, the people in your home, the dishes that you have to wash, or the
Mhm.
fact that you've got people in your home to love, that God's given you a family. And so there are things that you may be not grateful for right now. And one of the things no, it wasn't John Townsend, it was a guy named Ligon Duncan, a pastor. He made the comment one time. He said, "A sense of entitlement is the death of gratitude." And I thought, man, what a great quote. Because when somebody feels entitled, like you're not supposed to treat me like that, this is wrong,
Yeah.
gratitude goes out the window. The other thing I would say is this: pray and ask the Lord to help change your heart. It's exactly what you were saying. Like you can't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Yes, you can be grateful. Yes, you can think certain things, but you need to ask the Lord to do a work in your heart to change your own. This is what I would have to do. Like, Lord, shift my perspective. Help me see what I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
Um, I need you to do for me what I can't just do for myself.
Yeah, that's good. As you were talking through that, it made me consider me, made me consider, like, well, who have I done wrong?
Yeah.
And to be graceful with others'
Mm.
mistakes. And I think I have a pretty good forgiveness mode, not because I'm great, but because I'm awful, and I know
Mm.
I'm awful,
Wow.
and the Lord has forgiven me.
Yeah.
And my goodness, if the Lord could turn my heart, uh, man, he can turn anybody's heart.
Yeah.
So, uh, just take a look at yourself too. And we've all made mistakes, and we've all said things or done things to other people that just would just have us shudder in our shoes, like, God, what was wrong with me?
Mm.
And to have some grace on other people that are going through this life, that are struggling with the same stuff you're struggling with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you. Thank you for sharing that. Uh,
Oh, it's easy
I
because
really
I'm
need
not.
to. Well,
I
man,
mean I mean, this is no doubt
no,
about
man,
it.
no. Jeff's the real deal, you guys. Jeff is the real deal. I'll say the last thing, and then we probably need to call it for the day.
Yeah.
Is this: if you're in the pit,
Yeah.
if you're stuck right now, if you're a believer, I want you to know, the pit is not the end of the story for you.
No, it's not.
It's just not. In some way, shape, or form, this is you sharing in the sufferings of Christ in this world. And what is in store for you
Yeah.
can't even be compared
That's right.
to what you're going through right now.
He's not
And so
no more.
man, he has plans for his people that are far greater than we could even imagine. And so you may feel stuck, but I promise you, whatever you're going through right now, however prolonged it might be, it's not the end of the story. It's only temporary. Listen, I wanted to say thanks for joining us this week as we looked at Genesis chapter 40, continue studying the life of Joseph. We'd love to hear from you. So if there's some insight, some thought, hey guys, this is what I took away from today, just put it in the comments down below. We'd love to know what you're thinking. Also, if you found today's conversation helpful, again, if you'd like, share, subscribe to the channel, that would help us out. And just remember, at the Sift, there's always a seat at the table for you, and we'll hope to see you next time.
Love you. Come see us at Redeemer.
See ya.